All right, Texans heading into a big game, a swing game against the Indianapolis Colts. You lose this game, things could get really interesting. We in the next less than 10 days, the Texans are going to face the Colts as a 6-point favorite. Then they're going to go to New York, take on the Jets as a slight underdog as of right now. And then they got the Lions on Sunday Night Football. So the next 3 games are going to tell a lot. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of frustration, kind of a balance, kind of common during an NFL season. We posed the question yesterday, what changes would you make about the current Texans? This can mean anything. This can mean trade. This can mean personnel. This can mean coaching. This can mean something at the stadium. Maybe you don't like what they sell in the snack line. What changes would you make about the Houston Texans right now?
And you mentioned those 3 games. Between game 2 and game 3 of those 3 games is the trade deadline. So if you're thinking trade, then that's when it would need to get done, is that November 5th. Election day, trade deadline day. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Look, I'm a simple man. You asked this question yesterday on Twitter. The folks responded. I'm a simple man when it comes to these changes because I feel like there's a really solid base here with this team, and I do feel like there's still a lot of potential to this offense. And that's primarily where my changes are coming. I want to see Kendrick Green at left guard. I want to bench Kenyon Green. That's my big offensive line change. I'm not swapping Patterson in. I'm not putting Fisher in just yet. Let's just see if Kendrick Green can make things better for that offensive line and get Kenyon Green out of there. The Christmas lights theory, if you will. And then on offense, I want them to operate until it's proven otherwise, like they have a bottom 5 offensive line. So I want them to protect C.J. Stroud that way. I want them to call plays that way. I want them to run routes that way. I want them to operate like they cannot trust those 5 guys up front to pass block. And that's what I want Bobby Slowick to scheme this week and next week and as many weeks as it takes until they prove otherwise. Those are my 2 football changes that I want to see on the Houston Texans. And I believe we could see both of those this week.
Yeah, I would want the change on the offensive line. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's multiple changes. I don't want to see these same 5 out there. That's my thing. And change it. And if it ends up being worse, okay. But I don't want to give the basic bitch definition of insanity because it's kind of annoying. And every time someone presents it, it's so predictable. But doing the same thing over and over, it's just not going to work. So I need to see a different 5. I don't care what 5. I don't care what it is. Whatever they see, there needs to be a new 5 on the offensive line. If that's 1 change, 2 change, whatever, got to do it. You've got to change it, and you've got to get a look at that. So that would be that change. I also need to see another cornerback. Along with D'Angelo Ross in the mix in some way, shape, or form. Now, does that mean that Jeff Okudah returns to practice today? Don't know. I don't even know that Okudah is that much better than Ross at this point. Don't know. But I need to see at least another body and at least someone out there, at least battling and trying to do what Ross does. So I need to see that even when Lassiter comes back. I think cornerback depth, whether it means Okudah coming back or whatever, in some way, shape, or form, whether that's next week, the week after, whatever, they need to add a little bit of corner depth.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Running D'Angelo Ross back out there again, we're just putting him out there to try to make things happen. I mean, it's not going to be good if they do that. So hopefully it's Okudah, and he gets the opportunity to practice and then finds himself with a chance to be playing in his spot. Or the real hope is that, hey, just Kamari Lassiter is healthy and you don't have to worry about D'Angelo Ross or Jeff Okudah being out there.
Yeah, you wonder when he's going to come back. I think he's foaming out the mouth. He doesn't strike me as a guy that likes to watch football. I think he likes to play football. Yeah. Also, I think I brought this up yesterday because it is kind of an awkward 2 games in 5 days for
and Okudah, excuse me, and Lassiter, they didn't put him on IR, so they clearly believed it was going to be less than a month.
Right, and the weird thing is they didn't put Jimmy Ward on IR either. So there's a lot of weird there. I think the Nico thing was just because they did not want him to play 2 games in 5 days. So the 4 games kind of lined up perfectly with Nico.
Yep.
I almost feel like this game, and I've called it a swing game. I think this is such an important game because you're basically looking 500 in the eye if you don't win this game. And I'm not sitting here trying to say that the Texans are going to lose, 4 straight games. But if you lose this game to the Colts, then you're an underdog against the Jets. It's a tough situation. And then you're hosting one of the best football teams in the league. And quite frankly, the thought of this version of the Texans defense going against that Lions offense should really kind of terrify anyone that's been watching what's gone on. So I think you got to win this game. The thing about it, though, is I think you almost function as if this is a normal game. And then after that, I think there's going to be they're going to be very cautious with guys with the Jets. I don't know how many guys they end up not playing against the Jets or whatever, but I think that this is just a normal week. Obviously you get the extra rest after the Jets, but I think we could see perhaps a scenario where one of these guys that's hurt comes back and then doesn't play against the Jets, not because they didn't have a setback, but because they just don't have the full routine and full recovery time to get better. So I think that just like a little bit of a warning, like if you see someone come back and then you see that they're not playing against the Jets, I don't think that means it was a setback. I think it means they don't want to put them in position to where now they have to get ready to play in a few days after coming back. So I think that's why I think this is such a big game. And
it's not like this is not a, hard nose. You think about it like amazing defense from the Indianapolis Colts, but their defense as well as their offense are both pretty physical. I mean, they're going to try to run the football at you, and you're going to have to stop the run. That's going to be a lot of wear and tear 4 days before you have to play the Jets. And then, their defense is going to bring some heat, and they're going to try to get after C.J. Stroud like all these other teams have. And that's a lot to handle in 2 games in 4 days as well. Like, it's not the most physically imposing team, but they're going to be physical with you. So it's like, okay, hey, you're gonna play a physical opponent, and then you got the short turnaround. So like, not only are the guys coming back you have a question about, but hey, the guys that play Sunday, and then hey, they got to be ready for Thursday as well.
Dominic, Dom in Jersey, shout out to him on the super must-win game this week, all caps. I'll be at the Jet game, then I'll be in H for the Lions game. I'm 0-11 seeing the Texans live. Well, that's real.
Oh my God.
0-11.
0-11.
Damn.
Good grief. I did not know this. I knew he was on a little bit of a losing streak live, but
good Lord.
0-11.
0-11. My God. He came to the Colts game last year. Good God. So I posed this question on Twitter.
It'll be great.
Here was some of the answers on Twitter about a change. Get the younger wide receivers more involved. Give Dell and Hutchinson more opportunities. Determine who the best offensive coaches are in the league and convince Cal to double their salaries and get them here. Change the roster with trades.
Okay.
Replace Kenyon Green. Call more play action. Figure out a better solution at CB2. Work with Stroud on taking what the defense gives him. Add a diverse, quick game. O-line improvements. There's a lot. At Landry Locker on Twitter. Switch our O-line with the Detroit Lions. Yeah, that would be cool. Wouldn't mind that.
The Lions left tackle is Taylor Decker. And Decker is the one player when Bill O'Brien had his PowerPoint presentation to explain why they traded for Laramie Tunsil. I'm like, hey, these draft picks are going to be in the late 20s, and we don't think there's very many good players there. The only one that we think is any good in the late 20s is what the Lions did when they drafted Taylor Decker. And it's like, oh, so you thought a left tackle was going to be available in the late 20s? So you thought he was pretty good, so you still decided to trade for a left tackle? Come on, Bill. Yeah, so
we'll be trying to get as many context clues as we can today at practice. But D'Amico Ryans did say that nothing is off the table when it comes to potential changes. Here was D'Amico's response to my question earlier in the week about changes specifically on the offensive line.
For me, everything is on the table when it comes to it has to get fixed.
Okay.
I don't know why that wouldn't be the case with just about anything that's wrong with the team. I mean, it's not like this is a team that's, humming on offense in all the places. So, play calling or play design or, schematically, in addition to the offensive line. Like it should all be on the table to get this thing humming on offense.
Yeah.
The defense is humming for the most part.
Yeah,
I mean,
they gave a solid effort, about all you could expect against Green Bay.
Yeah.
So I thought that was actually fine. Question of the day: should Dom in Jersey avoid the games? He is 0-11. He is 0-11 in going to Texans games, and he's a big fan. He represents in Jersey. His baby's name is Nico, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He named his kid Nico. And I told Nico that happened, and Nico said, "You know what's crazy? My name is actually Dominique, so it's Dominic in Jersey. Nico's real government name is Dominique. Y'all might not have known that. But he's a diehard. But he's 0-11, and he's going to 2 of the next 3 games. He's going to the Jets game. He's going to the Lions game.
When you're on a bad streak like that, all I can really say is, hey, you're due. You're due. And so,
are you?
You're due.
Or are you cursed?
No, you're due. You're due. Jets dub and then a Lions upset. I love that.
We might try to do a little gathering before Detroit
Yes.
of some sort, probably Friday night or something like that. Maybe watch some college games on Saturday. So we'll figure that out for all the viewers and listeners. Maybe go watch some Thursday night football. Who knows? But we'll try to get a little gathering going. We're gonna be on the road a lot more probably next season. This year we're just in the mix. We're digging in and getting the podcast going. But we'll be on the road a lot, probably leading up to the draft too. If we're being honest, the draft is going to be fun this year as well. But right now you got a lot of games left. What do you expect from these 3 games? Like what do you expect from the Texans in the next 3 games? Like if I told you right now that the Texans are going to win 2 out of 3, you cash your ticket right now. You're good, right? If I told you they're going to win 2 of the next 3 games, you're cashing your ticket and you're good to go, right? Does one of them have to be the Colts though? That's the question. Does one of them have to be the Colts?
Yes. Yes. If you like, there's.
So you're saying this is a must winner then?
I mean, look.
I hate when people say, like, when someone says it's a must win and then it gets literal. Well, they don't actually have to win the game. Yeah, but to avoid the pillow fight in the AFC South, you got to win this game. You got to stand your ground a little bit.
Well, as far as the importance of who the opponent is and how much it matters to the grand scheme of things, the Colts one matters the most. It's an AFC team in your division. And then the Jets matter from like a tie-breaking and all that kind of standpoint right after that because it's an AFC team. And then the Lions, sure, mutual opponent and stuff like that. But, the tie-breaking process, that's what I'm really thinking about. Like if you don't have a head-to-head victory over one of these teams or it doesn't apply, you need tiebreaker winners, and division records and AFC records matter. And so the Colts one of these next 3, I'm putting it at the top.
Here would be my thing. Like if we're looking ahead to it, and this is like hypothetically speaking, first of all, you would be 2 games up on them if you win. So you kind of push them back halfway through the season, which I think is important because I think, let's be honest, like they want to win in the division, but the Texans really want to try to get to that tier. And we'll talk about the move that the team at the tippity top made with the familiar face in a sec here on SNL. Subscribe on all podcast platforms. But let's just look at it this way. If you beat the Colts, you're up 2 games on them. You've given yourself a little bit of cushion heading into the short week against the Jets. And then worst case scenario, you're 6-3 heading into a badass game, perhaps the marquee game of the season at NRG when it comes to the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football. And you're feeling pretty good about yourself. If you lose to the Colts, in the short term, it's obvious. You're tied with the Colts in the standings. You're an underdog going against the Jets. And you're probably going to be a little bit more shorthanded against the Jets and really kind of desperate to win a game on a playing surface that sucks in a situation that's not ideal. But here's the other thing about it. Like in the long-ish term outlook, if that happens, like let's say that happens, and let's say that Shane Steichen and the Colts beat the Texans. You're looking at a situation where last year you could have easily lost to Gardner Minshew had they not dropped a pass, and you could have easily lost that game. You ended up winning, but you would have a team with one of the most respected young rosters in the league, with one of the most respected young quarterbacks in the league, who has started all 4 games against the Colts, and you would be 2-2 against them on a team where they've started 3 different quarterbacks against you. Think about that. They would have started three different quarterbacks against you. Are two, a couple different quarterbacks against you. 2 different quarterbacks against you.
Yeah.
With Minshew and then Richardson, and not start, but Minshew basically won the first game.
Correct.
So they basically won with 3 different or won with 2 games with 3 different quarterbacks playing significant time. That's not the best look for DeMeco Ryans, especially when you factor in that these guys are going to be going toe to toe for a long time. You can't lose that game with the situation, with the card that the Colts have been dealt versus where the card the Texans have been dealt. You can't lose. You can't lose to that. You can't be 2-2 after those 4 matchups.
Well, just the mental wear and tear of, okay, you lost to the Packers in a game that you feel like you probably should have won. Then you lose a divisional matchup at home to a Colts team that you already beat earlier this year. So like that starts to stack up too. Then it's a short week against the Jets where you got to go on the road, which that makes, it's disadvantageous for short week anyway, but on the road it's even more. Like it just starts to stack up from a wear and tear, not only physically standpoint, but mentally standpoint too. So then you got to worry about pulling up from the nosedive if you drop this one to the Colts. I'm not as worried about the Colts as I am the other 2 opponents. Like the Colts game's the important one to me in the 3, but I'm least worried about them compared to the 3 opponents.
The problem is, like we talk about resiliency and stuff. The Colts, if they're 2-2 against the Texans for 4 games in with what they've had to deal with compared to what the Texans have dealt with, I think that's kind of discouraging when it comes to a head coaching matchup that we're going to see 2 times a year for God knows how long. I think you got to win that. Got to win that game. Got to.
Oh my! How about a little breaking news? I guess.
All right.
Hold on.
Break
give me
it
a
down
second here.
There you go.
We figured out what that final roster spot's for.
We did.
So the Houston Texans have signed linebacker Devin White.
Okay.
Formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and most recently of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that there's something potentially long-term wrong with either Henry To'oTo'o or Azeez Al-Shire.
It would not be Henry To'oTo'o because he just has a concussion. So,
well, I mean, those things can linger.
Yeah, I mean it'd be like a couple weeks. He seems fine. So, yeah, Devin White. So linebacker depth, okay. So
well, that's curious. Somebody banged up coming out of the someone banged up coming out of the game.
Derek has his coaching change. He says bring Saleh in and have him scout the offense for tells. The Christian Harris thing, I don't know that anything. The Christian Harris thing, I don't know that anything new would have happened with him. Me and Cody were talking yesterday about this, and he briefly stopped by. I said from the beginning I would bet that he doesn't play in October. Then I offered Cody a bet that he doesn't play in November, and Cody wouldn't take the bet. So do with that what you will. I think this could be like more to do with Al-Shire. Hell, maybe they just want more linebackers. I don't know.
This is. I just texted Brooks Cabina to figure out why the Eagles signed him in the offseason and then decided that he shouldn't play at all, despite them having linebacker injuries.
So we had a change.
26 years old, Devin White. 2021 Pro Bowler.
Yeah, and I mean the DeMeco magic dust.
Weird. This is what the 53rd roster spot is for. Very strange. Okay, Devin White.
Not pumped about it, I see.
Well, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, it worries me for something that we haven't seen yet from an injury standpoint. It worries me that maybe Azeez Al-Shire is a long-term thing, or maybe Hewitt or Hansen are banged up after the most recent game.
Or
strange.
Or you have this tough stretch ahead and you don't feel comfortable with Azeez Al-Shire, whether it's significant or not, you don't feel comfortable about him running on his, on that knee for the next 5 games, and you're just kind of kicking the tires and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, look, of all the guys that you could bring in to immediately be on the active roster, a former number 5 overall pick who's 26 years old is a lot better than some journeyman who's bounced around the league. So
we're reacting to the breaking news. Texans signed Devin White. It's a cool name and stuff, but I don't know whether or not it's.
I mean, the Buccaneers were fine just letting him walk out the door.
Yeah,
and then he signed with the Eagles, a $7.5 million contract in March, and then they released him in October.
Yeah.
All right, so I texted Brooks Cabina about what was the deal with Devin White when he was in Philadelphia. Brooks obviously used to cover the Texans. Now he covers the Eagles for The Athletic. Don't know how he got out of Houston.
Well, yeah, let's not talk about that.
And I said, what was the deal with Devin White? He said he just wasn't better than Nakobe Dean or Zach Bond, and the Eagles don't platoon their linebackers, and he really wanted to play.
Okay, well, that's cool. So does that mean he's going to play here?
Well, maybe sitting for a couple of weeks. He's decided that playing's not that important, but he does want a paycheck. How about that?
Yeah, we'll see.
So not as good as Nakobe Dean or Zach Bond.
They're playing good though. Ish.
Bond is the guy that intercepted CJ last year for the Saints, isn't he? I think he was CJ's first career interception.
Devin White, okay.
All right, cool. Devin White. Now we got to be watching. Okay, where's 0? Where's 39? Where's 35? And where's 43? Because I don't know that you're adding a linebacker if everybody's healthy at the linebacker situation.
I think the chat's bringing up a good point. I mean, yeah, D'Amico does coach up linebackers. Like, they're not just going to throw a linebacker at D'Amico. Like, D'Amico looks at this and says, "Okay, I can get something out of this guy." So
is this linebacker Derek Barnett this year? Last year they snagged Barnett and he turned into a nice rotational player. And
well, Devin White was a freaking monster a couple years ago. Like, he was
really good.
Yeah. He was an absolute beast. So, yeah, we'll see.
He requested a trade in 2023, that extension. Was in Philadelphia, couldn't start, requested his release, got his release.
Derek's already gotten him going traditional linebacker set. He's putting Petrie back to Murray's spot. So we're going. So you want to talk about changes? Derek's changing the whole way they play defense now. So Petrie's going back to traditional safety, and they're going 3 backers. Goodness gracious. You want to talk about changes? There's some changes right there. I don't know that I want that.
There was, I guess it was against New England. They did throw a 3 linebacker look out there, but I don't know if they're going to change to that being the full-time operation or anything.
In a life of Colby says, I fear Harris won't even play this year. Here's my thing with that. D'Amico said he would. Like, as much as D'Amico is kind of
and they clearly expected him.
We look forward to having him back, and he's going to be the same guy. Well, could it be in December? Could it be in January? Maybe, but yeah, the 4 weeks was not going to happen, and that's the keeping it real goes wrong factor that they juggle with. They're very Astro-like with not saying injuries, and you can say that it's protect the player, but immediately people say, well, what's wrong with him? Some people thought that he had a strained calf yesterday in the chat. I mean, you got people digging up like depth charts. I don't look at the depth chart. You actually helped on that. I don't think Harris is coming back anytime soon. I think he's come decently far lately, but I don't. That's kind of the consequences that the speculation kind of happens.
Well, and they clearly believed he was going to return at some point because they designated him for return at the end of training camp onto the active roster, onto the roster. Like, he's on IR designated to return.
Stephen Harris says Eric Murray needs to be cut. Okay.
Whoa.
That's
hold on, Stephen. What are we doing here?
Eric says Eric Murray has been targeted and misses tackles. Look, here's the thing with Eric Murray. Eric Murray should be a reserve safety.
Yeah.
Period. Like, that's what he should be. He's also a little bit more polarizing here because we all remember the ass offseason of 2020, which DeAndre Hopkins got traded, and then they paid Eric Murray like he was a good starting safety. And he's kind of hung around. And that drive against Green Bay was bad. That missed tackle and then the pass interference was bad. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Maybe they just want some more linebacker depth.
Every time Eric Murray makes a mistake, DeMeco Ryans should just glare over at Jimmy Ward. Be like, this is your fault. This is why he's on the field.
I Must Pandaline. Shout out to I Must Pandaline. She says, what do y'all expect from Murray? He makes good plays. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what to expect. Like, I think he's a good depth guy. And that's really it. It's kind of the same with D'Angelo Ross. Like, it's D'Angelo Ross is your fourth corner.
The next time,
no. I'm saying based on expectations. I'm saying like Murray's a better player than Ross, but he's your fourth corner. Like
the next time D'Angelo Ross makes a play will be the first time.
He was a good special teamer, my friend.
The next time D'Angelo Ross makes a defensive play will be the first time.
Yeah, you better change that, my friend. You better change that. 100%. Why did the Eagles not want White? People just tuning in, people just arriving with the breaking news. Lay that out for him, Stoots. Let them know why the Eagles did not want Devin White.
Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond, who were their linebackers, were better than he was, and the Eagles don't rotate or platoon their linebackers, and White really wanted to play.
So lay out the crystal ball, and you tell me what this role looks like for Devin White in the short term and the long term. What is Devin White?
Well, they got me. I'm worried about injuries now. So he may be a guy that's called to action pretty soon.
Like Sunday.
I mean, why we just watched two linebackers who were the backups play really well in a tough situation, and unless there's some sort of long-term injury that's about to pop up with one of the linebackers, or an injury that's going to keep one of the linebackers from playing this week, then what's the use of Devin White here? Like, is he, like, having not been in the building, is he going to be better than Neville Hewitt and Jake Hansen right away? Like, I could see eventually where he is, because he's younger, experienced, used to have a lot of talent, number 5 overall pick previously, but like I feel like he's available because someone is unavailable, would be my thought.
The thing that I think you brought up, which was good, was the Barnett comparison. I think the Texans have a decent track record on the defensive side of the rock of kicking the tires on guys and at least getting some use out of them. So I think that, Barnett was a early-ish draft pick, right? If I'm not mistaken.
5th overall.
Derek Barnett.
Barnett. I'm sorry. I thought you meant Wright. Barnett was a first rounder.
Yeah. So you look at that. He's become a pretty decent rotational guy.
14th overall in 2017.
So there you go. That's what that is.
I got some more from Brooks Cabina and Devin White if you'd like it.
All right, give it to me.
So Brooks Cabina covers the Eagles, used to cover the Texans, and we're talking to him about White. He said that some of his late struggles with the Buccaneers was partly because he relied too much on athleticism and put himself too frequently out of position on plays.
Okay.
So there's definitely some harnessing that probably needs to occur, but he doesn't have any sort of like massive significant injury on his resume where you're like, oh, like he, it's like his leg exploded or anything a couple of years ago. So
what if the Texans are just doing this to distract from the real problems?
What would that be?
The offensive line and Bobby Slowick. What if this was just to distract people from the real issue going on with this football team?
If they're changing his position and he's going to be a guard?
He did put on some weight. There was talk that he was out of shape. Maybe Devin White is going to be the replacement for Kenyon Green. He's going to come in here looking like Levon Kirkland, the old Steelers linebacker, and he's He's going to line up. What if Devin White is like, you imagine that speed just pulling guard? What if the Texans are transitioning him from linebacker to guard? And they realized he was out of shape and they just said, all right, we're going to work you at guard. No, but here's the real question.
I cannot figure out why White is here, and I wonder if we're going to get an unfortunate answer here at practice in a few hours.
Now, what if Devin White? What if? Do you think if Devin White lined up at guard, he could be as at least as bad as no. In Green Bay, if Devin White lined up at guard, could he have at least been as bad as Kenyon Green? If the Texans got to go back in time, let's say they got to go back in time and everything that happened with Green Bay was the same, but they had to rerun all their offensive plays, and you get to rerun all your offensive plays, and Devin White has to line up at left guard. Do you think the Texans would be able to score more points? Every situation, they get to rerun their offensive plays, and you can scheme away from them. You can roll out or do whatever. Could they score more points with Devin White at guard than Kenyon Green? Yes or no?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
The run plays might be difficult.
The running will be impossible to the left. They like to run to the left too much, so running will be impossible to the left.
Well, some would say it is anyways, though.
Okay, because he's one of the best in the biz. Unfortunately, no longer covers the Texans. I'm getting a lot here from Brooks on Devin White. You want some more?
Keep it going, man. Ask Cabina to come in. Is he at practice?
Okay, I'll ask him.
Is he at practice? Let's get a cameo by Cabina. I miss Cabina, man. I can't believe the Chronicle let him get away. Damn shame that what they did to that Cabina kid, that Cabina fella.
I asked him if he could hop on for a second. Let's see, it's 10:30 there. He's in Philly.
Yeah, I don't know what time they practice.
I feel like they practice late in the day.
Yeah, tell him to take his ass to the parking lot.
He's in the sauna, so that's a no.
The hell?
All right, so
is he trying to get in shape or something?
Well, he says, I'm in the sauna, give me a minute.
Nah, hey, just do it from the sauna, bro. Just keep it above the neck.
I don't know if the phone will work in there.
So just you send him the link?
Yeah, I'll send him a link.
Yeah, send him the link. We'll see what it is. Devin White. Does Devin White excite you, chat? Are you excited about Devin White? Derek has a point. He does. It's too early for silliness, Landry. Save it for the night stream. That's true. Night stream's a different vibe. So yeah, man, look, I'm trying to make some sense of what's going on with this Devin White thing. And I'm trying to have some fun with this offensive line, because offensive line is driving you nuts. If you really sit here and try to solve the problems of this offensive line, I feel like we've been doing this for years. Don't you?
Yes.
I feel like we've been doing this for years.
Since Dwayne Brown left the building, we've been trying to figure out how the Texans can block.
Yes. We have. No matter what, whether it was O'Brien, whether it was Tim Kelly, whether it was Pep Hamilton, we've been talking about this offensive line forever.
No matter if it was Julian Davenport or if it was Matt Khalil.
Boy, he was cooked. Not necessarily excited, but about as good as you can get to adding LB depth. I didn't even know that LB depth was a concern. And I think that's the other thing. The nightmare situation here, and the nightmare scenario is Azeez Al-Shire is significantly hurt. That's the nightmare. That's
really scary.
That's the worst case scenario here. The worst case scenario is Azeez Al-Shire is significantly hurt, and that's why you felt you needed to make this move. If Christian Harris can't go this year and they don't feel good about Christian Harris, it's nothing new. You've actually seen the other guys kind of evolve as Harris has been out, to the point where you actually feel decent about the linebacker position. You feel good about Toa, what he's done. You feel good about Hansen and Hewitt. And Al-Shire's been kind of the leader of your defense. But the worst case scenario for this White thing of all of them would be the fact that Al-Shire is more hurt. I wonder if the Browns won't trade with us anymore. That's an interesting question. No, I'm serious. I thought about that too. As we were talking about that, I thought about whether or not they would or not. if they would trade. Someone's saying the other Martin brother. I don't know. I don't know if the Cowboys are trying to trade him.
Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, we got. Hey,
look at this handsome fella.
Look at this from the streets of Philadelphia himself.
Wow.
Hello, Brooks Cabina.
Brooks Cabina.
Oh, you got to unmute yourself though.
You got to unmute, man.
All right, there we go.
Old habits die hard. Old habits die hard.
Yeah, you know what? It's this is the crossover we needed today. All right. So what's funny is that I moved from Houston a year ago today.
Wow.
Really?
Today, yeah. So
wow.
Anyway, it's good
we
to
miss
see you guys.
We miss you.
Man.
If we don't tell you enough, we do.
I literally was just in the sauna right now, so pardon my sweat and all of this. The gym's right over there, but yeah, breaking news. We had to talk about this.
Yeah.
So tell us about Devin White. What are the Texans getting?
So I've covered Devin White in every phase of his career. Basically, I used to cover LSU when he was there in 2018. He went to the Buccaneers. Obviously, had his Pro Bowl season there, Super Bowl there, and then he wasn't renewed in his contract. The Bucs let him walk. They executed his fifth-year option, and towards the end of that tenure, he was benched by Todd Bowles, and there was a time where it looked like there was tension. They go into the playoffs. He starts playing in a backup role, and then he enters free agency and was seeking for an opportunity to show that he was a better linebacker, a situation that he could thrive. And the Eagles are a team that has a history of some would say lowballing the linebacker position in terms of that. General Manager Howie Roseman would buck at that notion, but the last 5 years they haven't spent very high, actually ranking in the bottom 2 in that category for a large part of that. But Devin White was a perfect scenario for them because he was a guy that needed something to prove, and they could pay him a 1-year deal with a reasonable price to get him in the building. What happened with the Eagles is Nakobe Dean is a third-round pick that they had injuries last year. Roseman's very big on him. He was big on the whole Georgia defense that he was a part of. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, others are on this defense, a part of that notion. So Nakobe Dean was coming into this offseason and was wondering whether he would recover from his foot injury, Liz Frank surgery that ended his year. And they also signed Zach Bond, who had kind of a hybrid role with the Saints, an edge rusher at some times and sometimes played inside, really just didn't really have a home position. So they were gambling that one of these people, 2 of these 3 people would end up being their starters. So White came in, and in training camp watching him, it was kind of assumed that he was the starter. He was taking most of the first team snaps. He was starting in the preseason games of consequence. So, all of us make our depth chart and projections of, we talk to the people we can talk to. And the understanding seemed to be that White was going to be the starter in 2024 for the Eagles. But he didn't travel with the Eagles to the Week 1 game in Sao Paulo against the Packers. He had an ankle tweak going into that game. And Nakobe Dean started. And then going into the next week, Vic Fangio in a press conference, we asked him about whether White was going to start, whether Nakobe Dean was going to start. And he said very plainly, no, Nakobe Dean is the starter.
Oh,
damn.
And the question was, okay, well, what, led you to that? And he said that he outplayed Devin White throughout training camp. So without the ankle injury, Nakobe Dean would have been the starter in Sao Paulo. So, that led into kind of the conversation that was in Vic Fangio's mind, watching that, making a final decision that was surprising to even Devin White. We talked to him in the locker room, and, hearing that in the press conference was kind of jarring for him.
Oh, that's good.
Well,
that's a good way to operate Fangio.
It's that's Fangio, man. It's kind of interesting to hear and cover him because he's very blunt. He'll answer almost every question, and it's very simple. He doesn't really delve into the details of things, but he'll answer. A lot of the players appreciate that. It's also kind of explains a little bit why some of the Miami Dolphins players were kind of throwing shots at him after he left. There are some players that respond well to that, some that don't. Some situations work with that where that works, and others where it doesn't. And this year, the Eagles Philly is kind of a direct place anyway, so he seems to fit here in that situation. But like Devin White, I'll say this: attitude wasn't an issue with him. I think a lot of the question with that ending in the Buccaneers was like seeing how Devin White would handle himself behind the scenes in Philly. Every time he was available to speak in the locker room, he was very straightforward about his conversation with the Eagles. Like, he had to work from the depth chart. It was surprising, but it wasn't, hurtful to him. Even Fangio and Nick Sirianni, when they talked about him, said that he was still part of the plan. And that plan was, he was a backup. And the way I'll describe this is like, he came in to have an opportunity to prove himself. He's on a 1-year deal, and he had to, there were times with the Buccaneers, especially towards the end, where he was a very fast linebacker. His size, 240 pounds, matched with that, sub 4.4 speed was, or I think it was just around 4.4 in the 40, was what made him terrific at LSU and at times with the Buccaneers. Sorry, I don't know where my camera is.
No,
That
you're
way.
good.
There.
You're good.
I need someone to come and hold this for me. So to apply himself with the Buccaneers in that, sometimes players with extreme athleticism sometimes rely on that too much, and he was running himself out of place, finding himself in positions where he was pursuing, especially in the pass game, sometimes in the run, overextending himself. There were times where explosive plays come from that, and to instead apply himself within a system was something that he needed to showcase. And the Eagles, that was a scenario where he might have been able to learn that here, but at the same time, it's a 1-year deal. So whatever he learned behind the scenes, if he was only an insurance agent for, Nico Dean, that was never going to play out on the field. And unless he was going to re-sign with the Eagles, once he entered free agency, there wasn't going to be much evidence to other teams that, some of the things that they would rely on conversations they'd have with the staff of the Eagles before they make any signings. So,
he's not a bum, is what you're saying.
So you should know this, like, Nico Dean, what he's done for the Eagles the last couple of weeks, he's been a primary blitzer for them. A lot of simulated pass rushes, which was what Devin White was so good at LSU. So at the very least, you should understand that, the Eagles didn't think he was better simply than Nico Dean. Does that mean he's not better than what the Texans currently have on their roster with all the injuries? So manage your expectations with that. It's interesting to me that Devin White ends up with the Texans because not only the situation, but D'Amico Ryans being a former linebacker, the coaching staff being there in a way that they've been able to support the linebackers the last couple of years. So this is a situation where he can step in, apply himself within a system that he can further refine his game and have an opportunity on the field to showcase that. Does that mean that this is going to work out? No, I'm not saying that, but I think it's an interesting scenario. I think it's a good fit for them. And I wanted to address the attitude thing too, because of what I saw behind the scenes, what people might have questions dating back to his time with the Buccaneers. And also, like, we've, having covered, Howie Roseman and Nick Caserio doesn't seem to me to be a general manager who's going to try and sign a head case onto a team that has playoff implications. You don't want to, no one wants to mess up a locker room. So that's why I say those things about Devin White. So that's kind of the scouting report for you guys.
I like it.
And an interesting crossover today, and it's a beautiful one. It's a beautiful one.
Dude, what is the weather like there? Good
Dude,
Lord.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
My God.
It's 60 degrees with sun and no humidity, and there's actually colors around me. There are leaves that are yellow.
Well, you know what? I'll talk to me in about a month and a half. Okay?
Dude, it sucks. I'm not in February. I'm gonna be back in Houston. I still got family there, so there's no reason to be in Philly from February even through March. I remember being outside the parking lot in February, and I was talking to a beat writer here, and I was like, well, at least this ends in March, and he laughed. He's like, how about April? It goes. Winter is long here, and it sucks. But there are good parts. Fall is actually the best thing about Philly.
Yeah, so we appreciate you, Brooks, very much, man. We miss you out here.
Great.
We miss you on the streets.
Oh man, I miss it often in Houston. Still, I appreciate you guys, and still have a lot of friends and family there. So it's good to do this.
Yep, appreciate you, my
All
friend.
right, well, when you get back here in February, you make sure you come say hello.
Oh, we will. I gotta hit up all the old haunts. The one thing they don't have is barbecue here.
Yeah.
I got it. My parents. I bought a house here in Philly.
Look at you,
It's not that one, but
living large.
I was sent a smoker from my family for a housewarming, and that's how I'm known on my neighborhood. Like all these row houses, you can see like there's no privacy. So whenever I light that smoker up, everybody knows, it's barbecue time. There was a guy,
barbecue Brooks.
I made ribs for the first time Saturday, man.
How'd it go?
It wasn't bad. I did the 3-2-1. I kind of feel like I need to up it a little bit, like the temperature on the recipe, but it wasn't terrible. It was good. It was good.
What was your temp?
I think it was 190 then 225 or something, or I think it was 180 and then 225.
Yeah, you need to get up 220, just around there.
Look
You'd
at
be
you.
good. You need to eat, 2 hours at, I always go ribs. I go 2 hours with it, and then I add butter and brown sugar to it.
Yeah, I had brown sugar. I had some apple juice, some honey, all that. Yeah, I mixed it.
Let that go for another 2 hours. You got to wrap it that second hour though.
I did.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but there was a guy behind me that was doing his yard, and I'm trying to make friends, So he's like literally peeking over the fence with his weed eater in this small backyard. Like I'm telling you, it's like maybe 10 feet by 5 feet.
Wilson from Home Improvement, man.
Exactly. He looks over like, what's going on? And
howdy ho, neighbor Joe.
I was like, you want a rib? And he's like, yeah. He like reaches over the fence. I give him a rib. And he's like, I don't know if I can swear on this, but he's like, oh yeah, it's awesome. And I did. My neighbor to my right has, there's a family there with kids, and the smoker went through their air conditioning vent. And she called her husband and was like, is there a fire like that I don't know about? Is there electric wire? She's looking beneath the fencing, and then she like finally looks outside and sees me. I was like, my bad. And so the Texans screwing up the streets here. So
all good, man.
They don't know how to deal with me.
All good.
This, you know how this ends? This ends with you turning into like a barbecue master in Philadelphia, not even riding anymore.
You know what? Like, it would be a nice game. Sell out by noon and then go to the press conferences. I think I could work that out.
Breakfast barbecue with Brooks.
Yeah. Just put a couple racks of ribs out there. So I sell them for $5 a piece. I think I could work that out,
There you go.
Get her done. Brooks, we appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Absolutely. Y'all take care.
There you go. The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah.
Brooks Cabina. So interesting scouting report. So attitude problem he doesn't believe is a thing. Nico Dean, kind of an important player on that defense. And just not an ideal situation. Obviously, from a Texans point of view, you hope that it's not about Al Shire being injured a little bit more. I think that's worst case scenario. But Devin White, we'll see how he fits in with the Texans. I think someone in the chat brought up a good point. It's not about comparing him to Al Shire or Harris or anything like that. Maybe it's about, can he be better than Hansen? Like that's kind of how you look at this a little bit more as a depth thing, which I think is a good thing. Derek says, nice get, Stoots, much appreciated. So old friend Brooks Cabina, we miss him on the beat here a lot. I think that was a rough outcome for him to get out of here. Broke the Deshaun Watson story, by the way. But yeah, so there you go. Shout out to him. Shout out to Brooks Cabina. Straight from the workout to here. We got a little bit of breaking news, localized breaking news that impacts the Texans. And we'll go two-piece combo here as we continue to talk about food. Number one, we have a trade. Amy Adams-Stank continues to struggle with her identity. I don't know who struggled more with their identity at this point in their life, Bruce Jenner or Amy Adams-Stank. But between the rebuild and then going all in, like the juggling act the Titans have done, where you're getting rid of Mike Vrabel and we're going to get the best coach, and then you get Callahan, and you kind of think they're rebuilding, which wouldn't have been the worst idea. Then all of a sudden you're paying Snead and you're paying Calvin Ridley, and Calvin Ridley's a disaster and Will Levis is a disaster. And now DeAndre Hopkins nuke ends up with the Chiefs. from a localized perspective, there's two things. One thing, as we already thought, the Titans are dead. Their season is a lost cause. They're sellers at the deadline. They're a joke. They're not a threat. It's going to be two grudge matches where it's basically if they beat the hated Houston Texans, then it kind of gives them some sort of highlight in the season. They're a joke.
Yeah, they've turned into a college team where 2 games become their season.
But Kansas City, I think this is interesting because the Chiefs are interesting because I don't think, like, if you told me DeAndre Hopkins had to go somewhere and he had to be the man or whatever, I would kind of yawn. Like, if DeAndre Hopkins went to the Ravens, I would be like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't know how much of an impact that makes. But on a team like Kansas City, where we've seen Juju Smith-Schuster have an incredible game and they just find ways to win, I actually think this is a perfect acquisition for the Kansas City Chiefs. So from that perspective, I think it's a little bit scary if you're looking at pushing the kids to the kids table in the AFC South and then looking up at the teams that you're trying to hopefully compete with at the end of the season, and they're going to be on your December schedule.
I mean, look, if you can scrounge together, 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns on that Titans team last year, you're going to be more than useful for the Kansas City Chiefs this year. Like your point about him not having to be the dude, number one, 160 targets guy, that's a good one because he's not that guy. He can't do that anymore, but just fit into the system, fit into the whole scheme of what they got there in Kansas City. He'll do it. He'll go out there and he's playing with a good really, the best quarterback in football, although
really?
Mahomes is not playing that well right now.
He's finding ways to win, though. Like, whenever they need a big play, he finds ways to win, whether it's manipulating the rules on the sideline and scoring a touchdown because he knows if they touch him, it's a 15-yard penalty, or just making throws when they need to be made. He's gutting it out. We saw Tom Brady do that early in his career, where you look at it, statistically, Tom Brady's not Peyton Manning. Well, who's hoisting the Lombardi? They've built a complete squad. I think Nuke is a perfect fit there.
Yes, I mean it's an incredible move. This is a Chiefs team that should have been in on the other 2 wide receivers that got moved in Amari Cooper and Devontae Adams. I obviously understand why they didn't get Adams because he preferred to play with his buddy Aaron Rodgers, and
we'll get to him in a sec.
The Raiders probably didn't want to trade with the Kansas City Chiefs, but for them to go get a receiver who's better than the guys that they have right now, it's a really good job by Kansas City. So now you've seen Kansas City, who's near the top or is at the top of the AFC. They've made a trade. You've seen Buffalo, who's near the top. They've made a trade. I would tell you that if Baltimore feels like they need something, they may make a deal.
Oh, God. What do they need?
I don't know. Just add another knife to the bowling ball full of knives.
Oh, my God. Dave679 says D-Hop is too slow. He'll just get contested catches and schemed open plays by Andy Reid. Well, that seems like a good scenario for them.
It kind of sounds like he went to the right place then. I wonder if Dave was trying to be facetious.
Why are these teams helping the Chiefs? Damn it. I think they're helping their players as much as anything. I think it's as much as, look, the stanky one probably realizes DeAndre gave us everything he could, and let's just give him a chance to go battle on a contender. It's not like it impacts the Titans. They don't care.
Fifth that could become a fourth is a pretty.
That was a pretty good get back by the Titans too, by the way.
That's a pretty low cost for a team like Kansas City to pay.
But I think it's a good return.
No, it's a very good
right now.
It's a very good return. It's very good.
I mean, I think it's a win-win for both sides. Meanwhile, in New York, this just dropped, and every time Aaron Rodgers news drops, it's kind of like, okay, is there more to this? Like, what's going on? But Aaron Rodgers is apparently dealing with a hamstring, which is, hey, I don't even know if he's better than Tyrod Taylor at this point. I'm just kidding. But they got a game Sunday, and then they're going to have to play the short game against the Texans as well on that surface. So that's something to keep an eye on for the Texans. Obviously, we agree that the Colts game is the must win, but Aaron Rodgers, he's dealing with a hammy.
So he's got an ankle, a knee, and a hamstring injury. And he's got to play 2 games in 4 days.
Correct.
And one of them's in New England, and one of them's at his crappy turf.
Correct. Someone says, should I watch Devin White highlights? Yeah, but you'll be a little bit disappointed. I mean, it's not if you're getting that,
you know what? No,
that's a
don't.
game changer. Yeah, if you're getting that, then that's a game changer.
Don't.
But yeah,
if you want to go watch some highlights, there's 2 highlight videos. Landry and I talked about this with each other and last week. Go turn on Sam McGuffey's highlights and go turn on Noel Devine's highlights.
Oh, we're going old school.
And just watch those highlight videos, and you'll be like, whoa. And don't watch Devin White. Don't watch Devin White highlights. He ain't that guy.
If you like going on Bumble and getting catfished, and you swipe right, and you think you're going on a date with Sofia Vergara, and then you end up going on a date with, I don't want to call him Roseanne,
Gabriel Iglesias.
I don't know, like Melissa McCarthy or something. I don't know what he is right now. Who knows? But yeah. I wouldn't do that. So we have an example before we get out of here. And we went longer today because of the breaking news. If you're just tuning in, Devin White is a Texan. If you want the full breakdown, Brooks Cabina gave us that earlier on the go. Used to cover the Texans, now covers the Eagles. Another interesting element, actually covered Devin White at LSU when he was the beat writer there. So he has a nice history, nice knowledge of what Devin White is. But Cody Stoots has an example of when keeping it real goes wrong, courtesy of one of your Houston Texans players.
So shout out to I Must Pandaling because she sent me this because I didn't see it. But after I saw it, I just kind of shook my head. So Jordan Love in this most recent game, the pass that he zipped over the middle to the tight end, Tucker Kraft, is probably one of the best throws of the weekend around the NFL. And a lot of people have explained that's a perfect throw. And you know how CJ's commentary about perfect throws are. Stroud always says there's no defense for a perfect throw. Well, Calen Bullock was right there. Calen Bullock did not make the play.
Yeah, he was close.
Well, Calen Bullock took to social media to talk about now this is a video of the play. I don't follow that person or they've got me blocked or whatever. Wow. That's a bad account. Don't follow that account. But it's a video of the play. And Bullock says, perfect. The ball went through my hands. And then he put the laughing emojis.
I don't know if that's keeping it real goes wrong. I feel like that's confidence. I feel like that's confidence and that's accountability.
Well, that would literally be the perfect throw that if it went through your hands.
No. That would mean that you're saying I should have made the play. I think Calen Bullock's basically saying that wasn't perfect. I should have had that. And he's basically saying I made the mistake.
So he's saying it wasn't nothing. He's saying it wasn't a perfect throw. It was a Calen Bullock mistake, and that's why it worked.
He's basically saying that was barbecue chicken, and I dropped it.
He's basically saying I was barbecue chicken.
Yeah, it's a double-edged type of thing.
It's self-cookery.
Yeah. Hey,
you either cook yourself. I wasn't good enough to make the play, or that wasn't a perfect throw when it was a perfect throw.
Yeah, I mean he's kind of telling on himself.
You are the keeping it real goes wrong arbiter, so you have to tell me if it is or isn't.
Yeah.
You say thumb sideways on this. Maybe not keeping it real goes wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I say trying to keep it real and he went wrong.
Damn, CJ. So CJ seems to have respect for Devin White. I guess they're saying Houston Stressens put it up. It was him and Micah Parsons. So there you go. Devin White, another LSU Tiger.
So I can already that's this people quote tweeting the announcement of him getting signed. And someone's like, Scott says, yeah, why? Is he going to block? The people not happy with the O-line situation, so they can't be interested or excited about a linebacker spot.
So we'll be at we'll be at practice today.
Yep.
We have an idea now of what that roster spot was. So we're not we're not anticipating anything crazy. The Akuda or the Christian Harris, who knows? But yeah, I would say Devin White. We'll ask Nico about that. We might ask CJ about it. We'll go in the locker room. We'll figure it out. Not my YouTube channel, the locker room, but the locker room at the field, and we'll try.
Might need to see if Shaq Mason's got anything to say about it. Played together
about the O-line.
No, about Devin White and about the O-line.
Yeah,
he played with him in Tampa.
Okay. Yeah, we can ask Shaq.
Was that? I mean, is that useless information?
No, it's good information. I think that's a good job by you. Did Stingley play with him?
Yeah, would have been. He would have been on those badass teams, wouldn't he?
Yeah. So Derek Stingley too. But
Well,
I don't know.
I can't wait for the.
Like, yeah, he's good.
Can't wait for the 3 words he tells us about him.
Yeah, he's good.
He's
Good
pretty
player. And then he'll like have the smile. Good player.
good. Yeah, it is. And then he just does the smile with the top of his hoodie up. You say, yeah, good player.
We'll try to get as much context clues as we are. If look, they drive me because we don't get to watch as much practice as we'd like to. They're going to drive me, and this is my assignment today. Every time we go to the game or go to practice, I tell Cody Stoots, I ask Cody Stoots, hey, what are we looking for today? What are we looking for? Is that not what I always say? I say, what are we looking for? What do we want to hear? So today, this is what I'm doing. We're going to ask Nico about Devin White. We're going to ask Nico about the Indianapolis stuff, and I'm going to be a body language expert. I'm going to watch the offensive line as close as possible. I don't care if they're not running team. I'm going to be looking to see if there's a little extra kick from Kendrick Green, if it looks like he might know something that we don't know. I am a body language investigator today at practice. 100% body language investigator.
FBI, football body investigator.
Yes, 100%. Appreciate y'all for coming through. We got nearly 500 deep. Thanks to Brooks Cabina for joining us and giving us that in-depth breakdown of Devin White. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers and the hamstring. Feel like he might be shutting it down. It might be the start of Cody Stoots' theory that he's going to quit on the Jets in season. That theory might be the seed planted to the Cody Stoots theory that Aaron Rodgers will eventually quit on the Jets.
Yep.
Step 1. Texans got them in 8 days. Yeah, 8 days. Damn.
8 days. Yeah.
8 days. Damn. 2 games in 8 days. We'll keep an eye on that. And also the news that DeAndre Hopkins is a Chief makes the Chiefs better. How much better? Who knows? And the Texans sign Devin White. Swarm in the super chat real quick.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. Since y'all be skipping my comments, now you have to answer. Are we going to be happier if KC gets D-Hop his ring or upset Mahomes for the 3-peat?
I will be upset that he wins it because that means the Texans didn't win the damn thing. Come on, Gavin.
Oh, you still have Super Bowl expectations with this ball club right now?
No, not with this version of the offensive line.
Yeah,
but if they change some things and get it going, maybe.
Yeah, we got to see what happens. I find it hard to hate Mahomes. I think in his prime, I was not a Brady guy. I find it hard to hate Mahomes. He's from Texas. He's a likable dude. I find it hard to hate Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce, on the other hand, not a fan.
The Kelce's had a master class on getting overexposed.
Oh yeah, it's Kevin Hart and The Rock on steroids.
Master class getting overexposed.
Yeah, it's Kevin Hart. It's Kevin Hart on steroids. God, I can't even watch him anymore.
Hey, have you seen the extended version of the McConaughey commercial with Christian McCaffrey?
No, I haven't.
That commercial just makes me laugh to no end. And then they played an extended version the other day where he's like, didn't you go to Stanford? He's like making fun of him because I love that commercial. Jerry's eating rice. Huh. It makes me laugh every time. We're talking about commercials. Kelsey's are in all the commercials. Okay. All right. Is your microphone broken? Hello? Earth to Landry.
All right. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along both of our channels. Locker Room Night Stream 10:30. Little bit looser. We'll try to get a grasp of things. It'll be topical. We'll keep it going. Texans signed Devin White. Other news that impacts the Texans. And most importantly, always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Jerry's eating rice. Huh.